Ma'am, you're a pediatric infectious disease specialist. Are there any particular concerns with this new variant when it comes to children?
Well, the reports coming from the UK do say that more individuals under the age of 20 seem to be affected by this new variant. So it's something that we're watching closely.
But is the effect on them still the same? We're reading the reports na mas madaling mahawa pero hindi necessarily mas matindi yung symptoms. Does that hold still for the minors?
Well, there's no data right now that's age stratified, no. So when they talk about being more infectious but not necessarily affecting the severity, this is across all age groups. But Robbie, I think there's something we need to take note of, no. When we talk about this variant not being necessarily more severe, I think it conveys the impression that pwede nating hindi masyadong tutukan. But I think one perspective that we have to take is that because it's more infectious, we're dealing with more people potentially getting sick. And because we have a bigger group of people who will get sick, necessarily we will have a bigger group of people who will have complicated disease and who might die. So what are we talking about in terms of numbers? We're talking about a 9-fold increase in the number of people who might be infected. And of course, the same increase in the number of people who might succumb to the disease.
9-fold? 9-fold. So what's the first order of business for the technical working group? What is your first task?
So the group was actually convened to monitor not just this particular variant, but also to keep an eye on any changes in the virus biology that might have an impact in terms of how the disease plays out in the community. No? And so, of course, we are trying to monitor all of these people who are traveling in to make sure that we don't inadvertently import a case. But also, the goal is to try to see whether what we have that's already circulating locally might be a variant of concern, not necessarily a UK variant. Who knows, in a couple of days, a couple of weeks, we might have a Philippine variant that can be our own.
Yeah.
How quickly does that happen? I mean, we understand that mutations, of course, constantly happen. Some could be, I mean, more or less quote unquote benign relative to how it currently behaves. Some could be worse. Some could be not necessarily have any more severe effects. But how quickly, just to give us an idea, how common and how quickly do mutations actually take place?
Well, I do remember reading through literature that says about 2 months per mutation, but it really also depends on how quickly the disease is spreading. So one of the things we really also need to focus on is to make sure that we keep the cases low, because the more cases you have, the more opportunities this virus has to change and to evolve and to mutate. So that's part of the strategy, actually, so that we don't increase the likelihood that we have more mutations.
Is it possible for the variant to be weaker or to have a longer impact on the patient? Like, because they are reporting some patients are suffering even after they have tested negative already for the test. Is this also possible, this kind of mutation?
So, Ami, actually what you're describing is what they call long COVID or post-acute COVID symptoms. No? So far, that hasn't been associated with a mutation. But I think one of the things we also need to realize is that most mutations don't really impact on the way the virus behaves. They're just these certain mutations that convey a survival advantage for the virus. And those are the ones that we want to take note of. So, for example, this UK variant, because it becomes more transmissible, then naturally the virus gets an advantage. It spreads more quickly. The D614G mutation that we picked up several months ago is also the same. It's a little bit more contagious compared to the original Wuhan strain. That's why it's now more prominent.